Kakadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Nun Aleph, Amud Aleph, 51A1. We are starting 5 lines from the top. Ush Bezichne de Rami Bar Chama, the Balach Sanya. Right, that means basically the hosts of Rami Bar Chama. Zabin Chamara V'Ta'a. They sold wine and they made a mistake on the price. They sold it, right, for a very cheap price. So he found them that they were sad. Amarle, he said to them, why are you so sad? Amarle, he told them, Zabina Hamara Ut'ai. Says, I sold wine and I made a mistake in the price. Amarle, he told him, go retract. Amarle, he says, it was longer than the time of what's it called? Of the tagar, of the showing it to a family member thing. They said in front of Nachman, that's only the lokeach. But the mocher, leolam chozer, he could always retract. My tama, what's the reasoning? Lokeach mikcho biyado. The purchaser, he already has the mekach in his hand. So he could always show it. And then he could tell them if he made a mistake or not. But the mocher, that he doesn't have it in his hand, until he's going to have a mekach, another one which is comparable to it, and then he's going to know that he made a mistake or not making a mistake. Meaning, when you have it in your hand, you could always take it to get evaluated. But if you sold something, so you don't realize it until the next time you have something else that you're going to sell, and you're going to say, 1 second, so I made a mistake. How much did I sell that? I made a huge mistake then. You understand? Now, this is actually the beauty, because usually in other types of concepts, it doesn't exist such a concept. Meaning, if I'm going to come and I'm going to make a contract with you, and I make a mistake, as they say, you understand me? That's it. There's nothing what to do. Why? Because this is what there is, and that's it. You understand? But here, there does exist such a concept. You could actually come and you could retract. Okay. Today you have a similar problem. You can go to. Hau Gavra. Next story. Hau Gavra davanakit varsheche lezabune. He had kishure meshi, so he had pieces of like silk in order to come and to sell. What does it translate there? Ribbons of silk to sell. Kari shita. So he said he's selling it for 6 zuz. The shavya chamshan, it was really worth 5. V'yahava yavu chamsher palga. If they would have actually given him 5.5, Avishaki would have taken it. So ata hu gavra. There was somebody that came and he said, even in a chamsher palga v'mechila, it's going to be considered a mechila. So what did he do? He gave him 6. Etel lo shita. And then he took him to Bedi. So they came from Rabbi Elmaleh. He says, he says, no. If you're taking it from a craftsman, that's when we say that there's shtut. But if you're taking it from a balabait, there's no shtut. Why? Because somebody's personal properties are so important to them that they could charge you more. Capish? You could charge you more. Okay? Next story. Hau Gavra Dahava Nakit. So that's a very important halacha, by the way. Right? Imagine, he's got his own phone there. His phone is very valuable to him. It's not just stamp. If he's a buyer or seller, so okay, so you have a certain, prices in place. Here, it's a very sentimental value. So you could sell it for whatever he wants. And you buy it, you buy it. Yeah? Hau Gavra Dahava Nakit Kipele Zabune. He had Nizamim. Right? Different rings. Right? Nezim is different earrings to come to sell. So Kadi Shitin, so he said that it's going to be 60 zuz, and really was worth 50 zuz. Now, if they would have given him 55, he would have taken it. So Ata Ugavra Vamar, if I'm going to give him 55, it's going to be Mechila. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give him 60, right? And then I'm going to take him to Betin. Because basically, since he was going to give him 55 instead of the 50, so therefore what happens is that now it's Mechila, because it's only 5 difference. So it's too little of a difference. But if he's giving him 60 and it was only worth 50, so now it's more than the 10%. It's more than the 16%, 17%. So it's good what you said. It's like yashar, yeah? Who's the idiot? Is it not a balabait? He says no, we're talking about bigdei kanvus, right? Canvas clothing, which are made to sell. And therefore the balabait is not made, right, to actually ask a lot of money more than what it is. But certain types of utensils that he has, which is very expensive, he's not going to sell it unless he's going to sell it at a higher price. Meaning, usually, if they're already selling it, they want a good price for it, and that's exactly what they want. Says the Mishnah, Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Echad Lokeach ve'Echad Mocher, Yesh Lain Ona'ah. It doesn't matter whether it's a Lokeach or Mocher, there's a concept of Ona'ah. And just like there's Ona'ah to the Idiot, so too there's Ona'ah to a Tagar. Rabbi Yehuda says there's no Ona'ah to a Tagar. The one that received the Ona'ah, which means that it was done, the Ona'ah to him, he always has the upper hand. Ratzah Omer lo, you could always say, give me my money. Or you could tell me, give me that which we did the Ona'ah on. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara. Menan amile. How do we know these words? That there's an ona'ah, whether to the mocher or to the lokeach. The Tanu Rabbanan is to the Braita. Mechitim kiru mikal amitecha o al tanu ish etachiv. En li ela nitana lokeach. Nitana mocher minayin. Tamlumar o kano or al tanu. Which means that you also have it on the seller and also on the buyer. You have the ona'ah on both of them. Okay? You need to write both. You need to write down the lokeach and you need to write down the mocher. Why? If it was only written about the mocher, he knows what he's selling. He knows the value. If you're selling something, usually you know the value about it. But if it's the lokeach that you're not, right, you're not asserted in the value, I would say, right, that you don't, the Torah didn't warn you below tunu. And if it was only written about the lokeach, because you're buying, if you buy something, you already gained something, even if you paid much more for it, because you have an extra, you have something else in your property. But the mocher, you're losing something. I would say no. So therefore, Emma would say that lo azara rachmana. So therefore, you don't have the lotuno. So tzricha, that's what you need. Meaning, it's like property. It doesn't matter what price you're going to pay for property. You always gain in the fact that you have a property. You have something in your portfolio. You understand? You have something. But the one that's selling is always the one that's going to be losing, obviously. Okay? Fine. 2 dots. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says there's no ona'ah for a tagar. What does that mean? Mishum shu tagar al ona'ah. He says what? Just because he's a salesman, so there's no ona'ah? Why? Well, what does that mean? So Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rav betagar safsar. No, you're the middleman. That's what it means. You're the middleman. My time on what's reasoning. Made the yada zevin to kama shavya. He says because for sure he knows how much it is, right? But when he's selling it at a cheaper price, for sure he's going to be mochel. So why is he selling it? Because he has something else. And now which means like this. Sometimes it happens. You buy merchandise and you want to sell it at a cheaper price. Now the question is why? Because you think that you want to free up the money to get something else, and on that you can make more money. And many times that happens. Sometimes even stores they'll start selling it on a price. You're like, hey, well, why are you selling it so cheap, right? And by the way, that's also proof in the markup, right? Because stores could come and they could sell you 50% off, and they're still not losing money. Yeah, that just shows you. You understand? So what happens, right? So obviously it means that the concept behind it is that they want to free up the money in order to get something else. And so he's already mochel. That's why. Meaning he's being mochel already from the beginning. He's selling at such a price just because he wants to free it up to get something else. Ravashi says another reason. What does it mean there's no tagar? There's no ona'ah for a tagar. Eno betorat ona'ah. What does that mean? Shafilu pachot michde ona'ah chozer. Even if it's going to be less than ona'ah, you're still chozer. That's what it means there's no ona'ah. No ona'ah means the other way around. Not that you could charge whatever you want, but no matter how small the percent, you could still charge for. So he says, Nachman, we learned in accordance to Nachman of Yehuda Omer and Tagar lo ona'ah neshu baki, because he's an expert. Okay? Mishu talalav yadol eliyona. Somebody which would done the ona'ah to him, he has the upper hand. Mani matnitin who's our Mishnah? It's not Rabbi Natan, not Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Natan, but if it's going to be like Rabbi Natan, matnitin ktani ratza. In our Mishnah, it says if you want, you could retract on the sale, or if you want, you could just get the money back. And the Braita, we didn't say if you want, we just said that it retracts. And if the Mishnah was going to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Matnitin Ktani, we learned Braita Ktani, right? Mocher, right? In the Mishnah, it said if it was the Lokeach, the Braita was talking about the Mocher, not the Lokeach. So now we have a siman, a mnemonic, just to remember. But it says, Amar Rabbi Lazar Onazu and Yudi Mishnah. I don't know who is the one that taught Onah in this Mishnah. And Rabbi comes and he says, really, Be'emet Mishnah is Rabbi Natan. It is Rabbi Natan. Utznanami b'braita ratzai. So therefore, you just have to add it into the braita also. There's a word also, ratzai. If you want, you could retract on the entire sale. Or if you want, you could just retract on that. Okay, Rava comes and he says, really, Be'emet is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And that which we left over in the Mishnah, he's explaining it in the Braita. So Amar Ravashi Daikanami Ditani, that's also deduced because we could say Echad Lokeach v'Echad Mocher Ufaresh leLokeach, and you're explaining to the Lokeach. Shema Mina, we learn from here. Shiure Sheireh leMocher. You're actually leaving to the Mocher the what without saying a Mefurash, meaning it is the same halacha, even though we didn't say Mefurash. Shema Mina, that's what we're actually saying. So Itmar, it was stated. Somebody that tells his friend, that on condition that you don't have onah, Rav comes and he says, Yesh lo alav onah, and Shmuel says, En lo alav onah. So do you have onah? Don't you have onah? Fine. Leimar Rav de Amar, we're going to say that Rav holds like Rabbi Meir, and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya was learned to the Braita. If somebody tells a woman, imagine a guy's smart. He comes to a woman, he says, listen, I'm going to marry to you, but on one condition. I don't have to give you sher kisut ve'ona. I don't have to give you parnasa. I don't have to give you clothing. He doesn't have to give her tashmish. That's what he wants. He is married. He's married. But the Tanai is batel. It doesn't exist. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Yeah, but they're married. But it's Tanai batel. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, bedavar shebemamon, Tanai kayam. With money, it is kayam. Meaning to do the parnasa and the mezonot, the clothing and the money, it is going to be kayam, right? But not the tashmish. Because the tashmish is tzara guf. It's not mamon. It's tzara guf. So the tzara guf, he cannot make that condition, but to do with the money, he could. So Amalech Rav. So now the Rav is going to explain the machlok now between Rav and Shmuel is the same machlok between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Amalech Rav is going to come and tell you, Ana de Amri, I'm going to tell you, Afilu Rabbi Yehuda, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, Akal no kaman Rabbi Yehuda hatam. What does Rabbi Yehuda say that to do with money it helps? Ela diyada vekamachla, but she knew about it, and then she was mochelet. Meaning, from the beginning of the marriage, she already knows about it, and therefore she's going into the marriage already forgiving. She knows about it. No, אבל בסדר, אבל היא מוכלת, אבל היא יודעת את זה מההתחלה. She knows about it, right? נונה לפעמים ב' אבל, הכה, but over here, 51b, Miyada Damachi, does she know about it? She doesn't know about it. You tricked her without her knowing. She doesn't know. Right? Ushmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, Anna de Amri, I could even go according to Rabbi Meir. Remember, Rabbi Meir says that the entire thing was batel. So Akal lo kamar Rabbi Meir hatam. When is Rabbi Meir talking about over there? Ela devadai ka'akar. Because you were for sure oked. Meaning, when you come and you make a condition, right, that you're not going to give her a shek suvona, you were for sure oked minat Torah everything. But in our case of the onah, did you cut anything? It could be maybe there was no onah at all. Meaning in that case, for sure, there was a problem that you're annulling something from the Torah. Over here, maybe there's no onah, so there's nothing here. So Amar Ravanan says Ravanan, Shmuel, for me, was explained to me that which more Shmuel. Somebody tells his friend, says on condition that there's not going to be onah, there's no onah. Al menat she'en bo onah, there is bo onah. Meaning, if it's that it's al menat, because since at the time of the t'nai, we don't know if it's going to be oked or not, the onah. So therefore, the t'nai is chal. But if he says al menat she'en bo onah, which means that at the time he knows that there is onah, then it doesn't help. Right? Why? Because you cannot come and start annulling onah. Meaning, ala safek, it works. But if it's not on the safek, it does not work. Capish? So meitvei. So they wanted to ask the following question. If somebody is going to come and going to start, right, doing business, right, with amana, what does that mean? Right? He believes him that he's getting the best price. So So he comes and he says, but according to Rav that he says, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, so who's this brighter going like? So Abaye says, Machvarta, it appears that Rav is the one that's saying like Rabbi Meir, and Shmuel says like Rabbi Yehuda, right? Which means Rav and Shmuel are arguing, right, with the same machloka between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rav holds like Rabbi Meir and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, since Rav agrees that according to Rabbi Yehuda, it helps the tonight to be poter from ona'ah, so therefore just say the Baita is going to be like Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, and Rava comes and he says, Rava Amar, La Kashia. It's not a question. Kan bestam, kan mefaresh. He says it all depends whether it's a stam or a mefaresh. What does that mean? Stam, if he says, Al menat she'en lecha la'ona, he didn't say mefurash that the mechir is not true. And therefore, in that case, the sheni was machal betaut, right? He was mochel, it was a mistake. He didn't. But here, he's telling him mefurash that there's ona, and I'm still selling it to you on condition there's no ona. So therefore, if you're going to be mochel, you're going to be mochel. Yeah, you already know about it. If I tell you I'm charging you double, right? So by the way, there's certain conditions on that. For example, right, in the law of certain countries, right, or certain states, you're not allowed to do that in certain occasions. For example, I could come and I could charge you water, $10 for the pack that you get in Costco for $5, yeah, or $6 or whatever it is. I could do that. But if it's time of, for example, how do you call it, hurricane, right? That's called price gouging. Then you're not allowed to. Because basically you're taking advantage of the situation. But if you're not, I could, listen, this is my store. I'm charging you the same. Why? Because I feel that, I don't know what, that but the second that it comes into my store, it's blessed. And now you have to pay $10 instead of $6. Right? You understand? Nobody can stop you. Okay? So the time was we learned to the bright, but what are you talking about? The stam. But mefaresh, if you're mefaresh and you're saying exactly mochesha omer lo lokeach, he says, I know that it's only worth 100 and I'm selling it to you for 200. And al menat shelecha lo en lo lavona, there's no ona. Because I told you I'm charging you double. I told it to you. The lokeach also that tells the mocher. The chefetz that I'm buying for 100, I know that it's actually worth 200. But it's al menat shelecha lo en lo lavona. It actually does work. Okay? It works. Fine. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Hanoseh v'anotem amana, harei lo yichashev et hara b'amana v'et hayafash v'shava. He says here, if you're going to come and you're going to accept it from your friend with amana, which means basically you're somech alav. You don't even have to check it. You're somech with the name skurot. So therefore, you don't have to come and start checking the two different types, whether it's the wines, whether it's good or not good. Or, why you accepted it? You accepted it. Ela ozeh v'zeh b'amana, ozeh v'zeh b'shaveh. Either you do everything b'amana or everything with a value. Meaning you cannot start playing. The wine that I accepted from you was amana, but this was going to be b'shaveh, exactly the worth. And you continue going like that. It doesn't work. Right? You have to give him the schar of the delivery, the transport. Schar gamal, schar pundak, schar atzmon notel. But obviously that's only talking about for the, like the taxi driver, or the Uber, or whatever it is, or for example, on the way they had to stop at a hotel, but he himself, he's not taking anything. Because he already paid him. He says, well, you give him the money? Papa says, we're talking about socharim, which they're selling canvas. That he gave him the schar katsuv for begadim, for 100 begadim. So basically, he's giving him like 4 clothing out of 100 that he's able to come and he's able to do. Okay?